In today's video, I'm going to share with you how important it is to create a champion in every B2B sale. I'm going to share with you some of the lessons I've learned through trial and error about cultivating a champion and the consequences of having one, and also what happens when you don't. So over the coming weeks, I'm going to create a series of videos that sit along the spectrum of all B2B sales. And by that I mean it starts with our strategy before we engage, and then we'll transition into the beginning of a sale all the way through to the middle and then to the end. As you can see by this diagram, I've done some videos in each one of these categories already, and I have a corresponding playlist on this channel. Now, if this interests you and you're in the sales world, be sure to hit the subscribe and the notification button below, and you'll be notified every week once I release a new video. Now, if you have any specific sales challenges also, please leave a comment below or get in contact with me, and I'll be sure to make a video if I have an answer. My name's Gavin Tye, and I've been in enterprise SaaS sales for startups for more than 8 years now. And it took me a long time to realize or really see the benefit of understanding what a champion does inside a sale. So the purpose of this video today is to not tell you what a champion is, but why it's important and why you should really consider finding one or cultivating one inside of every sale where possible. And it's not a perfect world. Sometimes you just don't have the luxury, or a potential client will keep you at arm's length and you just can't create one. But you need to understand what the consequences of that are and develop strategies around trying to gather information if you don't have a champion within the sale. And I'm also going to share with you some key lessons I've learned along my journey about what happens when I thought that I had a champion and it didn't match the criteria, and what happens when you do find one, how much easier it is as well. So let's start. What is a champion? So there could be potentially a number of labels that people attach a champion to. So effectively, a champion is someone inside the business that has authority, that respects you as a person and really wants your product in the business. It could also be known as a coach in some instances as well, but for today we're going to label them a champion. So they must satisfy 3 criteria. They must have authority within the business, they must really want your product, and they must respect you as a person as well. Now let's talk about why champions are important. Every business has its own internal politics, its own internal procedures, and own decision-making criteria that you as a salesperson or a founder or anyone involved in the sales process will never understand. The contact time that you have with a client during a sales process, even if it's in the millions of dollars, is actually not that long. You're not in there for weeks or months at a time, potentially. Unless you're doing some kind of scoping exercise or providing some kind of service before you actually propose your solution, and hopefully you're getting paid for that, because you simply can't afford to do that. So what we need to do is cultivate a champion inside a business, someone who really wants your product and they understand the internal politics and know how to navigate the business, have authority to sway people's decision-making criteria, and really want to get your product inside the business, and they will carry the flag, so to speak, of implementing or buying what you're offering long after your interactions with them have gone for the week or the month. Now, if your sales cycle is 12 months or more, that is a long time for you to not be in that business. Now, and it could easily be disrailed if you don't have a champion inside it. Now, I'll give you an example. I was engaging with a water utility here in Australia, and I thought I had a champion. She really wanted our product, and she really respected me as a person, and I went above and beyond to help her get to a point where she could see the value and demonstrate that value to others within the business. Now, I mistakenly took her as a champion because I didn't confirm that she had authority within the business. So we went up to this town, which was 6 hours from where we're living, to talk about implementation. We went into a room with her superiors, and they simply didn't listen to her. The sale was not where I thought it was. And I was hoping that her enthusiasm and her really wanting the solution was enough to get us in there. And quite frankly, she didn't have authority, and it set that opportunity back 18 months. Now, what happened in that actual opportunity is 18 months later, I found the chief operating officer in that business, and he said, yes, I've seen the work you've done previously. I really want that in the business. We're innovative. And he signed the contract, and we were in there within 2 months. And that's the difference between a champion that has authority and someone that doesn't. It actually set us back quite a long way in that sales process. Now, another key important part is that can help you identify roadblocks. In the B2B world, objections are less prevalent than if you're dealing directly with a consumer. If you're dealing with a business that has 5 or 6, 3, somewhere like that, people in a buying decision, by the time that reason gets to you, it's not an objection, it's a reason, and the sale will more than likely be over. The importance of a champion is they can actually tell you some issues that are arising well before it gets back to you, so you can potentially give them the information or the tools to alleviate that challenge. And they can actually take that in and present that on your behalf, and they're your advocate, and they can actually quell what could potentially be an opportunity ending objection. And that's another key distinction. They can highlight issues on the sales process well before it comes back to you, because if it comes back to you, the opportunity will more than likely be over. So now we understand the importance of a champion. How do you create one? No one in a business sets out to be a champion for a business. The reason they become a champion is because they can see your value, and you ultimately help them first, and then by helping them, they help you. So people are driven by personal motivation first. Everyone acts in self-interest, and it is far more conservative to think about people acting in self-interest and helping them achieve their self-interest. And then out of that, a consequence is they will help you. Their interests have to be greater than yours. And if that's the case, they will always act in their self-interest, and as a result, you will get into that business, or a high chance of getting into that business. And ask yourself, has there been a scenario when someone has presented a software solution to you in your world, and you've actually seen the benefits, and you've actually championed that into the business? You actually didn't want to champion the product as such. You saw the benefit or the value they provided you or the business, and you wanted to bring that into the business. And that's what we need to try to create. During every sale interaction, or the beginning stages, is we want to actually, as well as finding out is there an opportunity, we really want to start cultivating that champion. We need to find out what their personal interests are, if they're likely to be a champion, if they have authority, and then we have to help them achieve their goals. And we need to understand them and their business first, and what's important to them. And then we can frame our message accordingly to help them achieve their self-interest. If we can help them achieve that, they're far more likely to be a champion over the long term. Now, if someone is not a champion in the beginning of the sale, or you don't think that they are, I'll always keep searching. I'll always keep trying. Now, during my sales interactions, the first part of a discovery call or interaction, or that beginning part when I'm interacting with a client, I'm searching for a champion, or someone that I think is that could potentially be a champion. Then I'll start asking them questions about what's important to you in this opportunity, or why have you come to me? What do you see the value that we can provide? What KPIs do you have in your business, or OKRs, whatever their drivers are, their objectives. And I'll align our value proposition to help them achieve those things that are important to them. And then it's important as well to keep testing that they're a champion, because if you assume that they are, like I did in that opportunity that I told you before, and you go down the path 6 months or 12 months and you get to the end and you realize that they're not, then you've wasted a lot of effort and potentially stop the client coming on board. You are not doing the best service you can for that business to utilize your services. Now, an example of cultivating a champion, someone come to me recently in my day job, and they had a problem, and I realized that he was new in the business, and I helped him provide a solution so he could go back to his management with a long-term view of some key problems that were coming up in their business that we could help them solve. Now, I wasn't 100% convinced that he was a champion in the beginning, but over time I was. And it's really handy because sometimes they go really, really quiet for long periods of time. And it's the fact that you've cultivated that champion that they'll always come back when the time's right. So that's how I cultivate a champion. And it's extremely important that you serve their self-interest first. Because if you can serve their self-interest first, then with your product, then they will always act in their self-interest. So if you're successful in creating champions inside your sales opportunities, I'd love to hear more about it. I'd love to hear about how you're doing it and some of the lessons that you've learned in the comments below. And it'd be great if you could do that so we could share it with others and they could get ideas as well. Now let's talk about what happens when you don't have a champion inside a sale. During a longer sales process, even if it's 3 months or 6 months or 12 months, having a champion gives you insight. So if you don't understand what they're thinking and you don't have a champion, you have to make your best guess assumption about some of the challenges that you'll have. And over a long sales cycle, it can be really daunting because you're putting in effort and you're preparing for a potential client, but you don't know for sure. And in my experience, if someone's not taking the time to make a personal investment in a relationship with us as a vendor or us as a potential partner, the chances are that they are not seriously considering you as a likely solution for their business. Because if they did think of you as a likely solution, you would think be far more welcoming. And that's the experience that I've had as a salesperson. And even if they did select you as a vendor or a new partner, but kept you at arm's length, starting the relationship off that way is probably going to transition into the relationship once they sign with you as a client, and can cause you difficulties at a later stage because they are less likely to be collaborative. Now let's talk about what happens when you do have a champion. If you do have a champion, what you do have is you get insight. You get to understand what that talk is beyond that meeting. And a tactic that I always use in this scenario is if I have a champion and they're in a meeting, I will circle back with them 2 or 3 days after a larger meeting and say, hey, can I just get an update on what the messaging was or what the conversation was after that meeting? And they will say, typically, if you're on the right track, yeah, it was really positive. They really see the solution. Now we're going through presenting or compiling a business case or presenting a business case. We're forming a team to start solving this problem within a business. Now, one of the key lessons here is words are one thing, but actions are another. If you think about people who want to lose weight, plenty of your friends have said, yeah, I'm going to start losing weight next week. I'm going to start going to the gym. But then there's those people that start going to the gym and then don't even really talk about it, or start going to the gym and they're messaging maybe something like, hey, I've been going to the gym for a week. I really want to start losing weight. They're the same messages verbally, but their actions are different, and they're actually making an effort to lose weight. It's the same with a business. Words are one thing. We really like your product and we really think it's great. We really think it has value. Is not the same as, hey, we really love your product. We're actually standing up a project team, or we're starting to engage with procurement to figure out how to buy you or be getting prepared to buy you. Or we have someone that now owns this project, or we're getting budget approval now to be able to implement your solution. 2 different things. One's organizational behavior and one is just words. So a champion will be able to give you insight, and you need to quiz them or ask questions around what's that action that they're doing within the business as well. And they will give you that insight. Without it, you're blind, really. Because you're having insight from a champion, you can better predict the outcome. Now, sales is not a perfect science. You can be doing everything right, and at the 11th hour, the opportunity will get derailed. And sometimes you just can't do anything about it. And that's another topic. You should maybe try to facilitate 1 or 2 champions, or have a backup champion there, or cultivate multiple people that want your solution. So you're building out redundancy in your sales process as well. So you're not reliant on one person or a single point of failure. Now, because they're giving you insights, they can tell you of potential issues that are arising. If they come along and say, hey, we're not quite sure of the value, or we're not quite sure how this works within our business, you could actually go away and work on a solution or an answer and present that back to them for them to go back to the group. It's far more powerful if your champion can present that solution or that answer back to them than you, because you're seen as the vendor potentially. And that's happened with me in numerous occasions. In probably the largest deal that I've been responsible for, the total contract value was $3.5 million. And I spent 6 months working closely with this individual within a large power transmission provider. And I knew the process they needed to go on their business to buy. And I gave him all the tools to do that. I gave him surveys for his team, or people who were involved in what we were doing, and they sent it out to like 1,500 people. I gave him a risk matrix to complete, and I also gave him a quantitative calculator. And I knew by helping him, he could go away and get that information to build the problem out to a substantial amount that they just couldn't stay there anymore, and had to solve the problem, which was and implement our solution. I was able to reduce this length of sale. I think I met them on a November of 1 year, and we closed in the October of the next. So less than 12 months for a 3.6 or something like that $1 million deal. And I couldn't have done it without a champion. I just wouldn't have had the insight, or you just can't have the contact time to get into that business. So I hope this helps you understand the importance of cultivating a sales champion. It is extremely important for long-term success of your sales function within your business. Now, to improve your and your team's sales effectiveness, you must formulate the right sales strategy for your business. And that will see you begin differentiating yourself from the competition from the outset. Now, to help you do this, I've written a book called Startup Sales Secrets. And you can find a link to a free copy in the comments below. Now, the book focuses on 3 core principles to not only help you build out the right strategy for your business, but more importantly, teach those concepts and the lessons you've learned to others to help you scale as your business grows. So please download a copy below and start applying those principles to your business today. Now, while you're down there grabbing a copy of my book, like the video and subscribe to the channel if you want to be notified. Hit the notification button and you'll be notified of any new videos that come out that fall along the spectrum of a sales process or sales engagement with a client. Now, if you're meeting online as well, more often than not these days, be sure to check out this video here, and that will tell you about the pros and cons of online meetings and how to develop strategies to be more effective. So thank you, and I'll see you next time.